We're human, don't you know? And in this leadership series, we are delving into the seemingly infinite depths of AI. And in the interest of getting a variety of views and thoughts, we're heading for the world of entertainment with my next guest. And as an experiment, I got AI to write the intro for me. So here goes. Cindy Ashton is a dynamic actor, speaker, and author known for her captivating presence and multifaceted talent. With over 2 decades in the entertainment industry, Cindy has excelled in film, television, theatre, earning acclaim for her compelling and versatile performances. Her ability to portray diverse characters with depth has made her a sought-after talent. So beyond acting, Cindy is a renowned speaker. She's an author who inspires audiences worldwide. So, drawing from personal experiences, she delivers powerful messages on overcoming adversity, building confidence, and embracing one's true potential. Her engaging speaking style, infused with humor and heartfelt sincerity, leaves a lasting impact, motivating listeners to pursue their dreams while living authentically. Cindy Ashton's diverse talents and unwavering commitment to uplifting others have established her as a prominent figure in entertainment, motivational speaking, and literature. And her journey is a testament to the power of resilience, creativity, and the human spirit. Hello, Cindy. Wow.
Hi, Rachel. Wow, that was quite the bio.
I know, right? What did you think of it? I mean, obviously written by a machine, written by
I
you
I
know.
think it's awesome that a machine thinks all these things of me. Thank you very much, machine. It kind of missed the big thing that my singing is. I'm
Ah,
like,
they missed singer. They did, absolutely. Yeah.
and I'm like, it does, that's actually pretty spot on, except for the big part of what I do is sing.
Yeah, they
So
missed the
yeah,
musical
that's
theatre stuff, didn't they?
kind of missed all that. It's all good. But that's pretty spot on. It's really interesting. Yes, if you're writing the entertainment bio, that is it. I think that's just got to
Yeah.
add singer in there. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, and like I say, I suppose if I'd sat there pulling things from your website, pulling things from different ways, that probably would have taken me maybe 45 minutes to really hone and get down to put it into. And it's not my voice, I'm guessing. Obviously, I intonated here and there, but yeah. Now, obviously, neither of us are experts in AI. We're aware of it. I've been dabbling. I play, and there is
Yeah.
nothing in this session to stop us postulating what's possible, what we're concerned about, what we might be around the corner. We can dance in the moment with this topic. And if that raises more questions than it answers, then so be it. So, what at the moment is your kind of gut take on the impact that AI is or could be having on those industries that you love so much?
Yeah. So I have a few thoughts. The first is that someone's singing voice, for example, you can't is undeniable.
Yeah.
I'm positive the AI can create a singer. I'm sure that the AI can say, have somebody sing this with a depth, with a deep, round voice, and with a raspy. Like I am sure the AI can create a pop voice that is super chirpy, like Ariana Grande. Like I'm sure that it could do that. I also, years ago, the TV network I was with had a speaker that talked about the future of AI is that you could also take a performer and eventually take that performance, and I'm not fully understanding this, but then they could literally be projected into an audience. So let's say Taylor Swift, if you want to go to Taylor Swift concert and she's having a baby, or she just decides she wants to take some time. I'm not in Japan, but it's not her, but it's her concert, all projected on these lights and it's all used with AI. So I mean, there's some very, very cool things that people can experience things with, which I think is awesome. And there's nothing like connection with an audience. You can't manufacture connection with an audience. You can't manufacture feeling the energy of an audience or responding to their tears, responding to their laughter. In terms of the voice, AI might make the voice sound too perfect, even the perfect raspy voice. The thing is that the voice is flawed. I think about 50 years ago, those singers had to be able to sing.
Yeah.
They had
No
to be
option,
able
no
to,
auto tune, no corrections, no editing,
right?
live.
I mean, that's Ella Fitzgerald. That is Ella Fitzgerald. There was no like, whereas now it's like you can auto tune is obviously not AI, but again, in my opinion, somebody, and you can't replace that emotion, you can't replace the truth of that. I'm
Yeah.
sure that they can come up with all kinds of branded superstars, but nothing can replace a human being, in my opinion, when it comes to singing, when it comes to acting. These are all things that take deep psychology, which again, I'm sure that AI can come up with stuff, but again, it doesn't replace all the different layers of that. And I'm definitely not a visual artist, but I would imagine the same as an artist. So there's that big piece in terms of it. Um, the second big piece for me as well is lyrics, your content.
Yeah, I was going to ask
And
about songwriting and poetry and the words that are shared.
right. I don't care how brilliant AR is, they don't know every single thing that's happened in your past. They don't know everything that's shaped you. They don't know every single interaction stuff, but it's not going to be able to fully capture it. Even when you say, write this in an entertaining tone, write this in a sorrow tone, whatever, like it's not going to replace it. And, when I think about the artistic way, the artistic process, a big concern I have, this is more for the business world, is that people are like, oh, I'm just going to chat GPT my new bio. I'm just going to chat GPT my social media post. So there's two pieces to this that is really important. And the first is that a lot of people, when they're marketing themselves, it sounds like the same old, same old. You need to, as an artist, I'm going to connect this back. As an artist, you have to sit with yourself. When I tell people when I get a new script that I spend probably about 3 hours per page on
Wow.
that script, people go, what? And they're like, does it take you that long to memorize? I say, no. I'm breathing in every line. I'm breathing in every piece. I'm getting curious. I'm like, why is the author using the word must versus have?
Mm,
Is there an urgency? Why is my other character doing this? You know, why am I out in a field handing my baby over to my stepmother to take care of, and my baby is wearing shoes in December? Maybe they're not in the north. Maybe they're in California. Like, as an artist, you get curious, you ask questions, but also when you're songwriting, when you're creating your characters, when you're singing, you have to find the truth.
mm.
How could you find the truth of your message if you're chat GPTing it? How can you find your unique spin on what you want to say if you're not taking the time to stop and be present and be curious and explore?
Yeah.
So I have clients that come to me because my other business is Speak From Your Power and Brave Leaders Rising, which Brave Leaders Rising is a hybrid of everything I do. But they come to me to work on speeches, work on video scripts, work on a lot of the messaging in addition to the presentation piece. And some of them will take I give them prompts to get them to be sparked into their curiosities, be sparked into their creativity. So again, it comes from truth. I have some clients that use, in my opinion, AI correctly. They will go in and they will take my prompts and put them into AI, see what it comes into, and then they'll spend the time to sit with it,
Yeah.
breathe with it, go, that doesn't feel right. I actually disagree with this point of view. And it's beautiful because they're still cutting down on the time, but they're also getting some great ideas. And those ideas are helping them to go, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that direction. I want to explore more within my soul, more within my expertise.
How can I make it more me?
Yeah,
Yeah. How can I evolve that?
exactly. So, bottom line, but in a world where people simply don't trust it as much anymore, where a world where people are highly triggered and traumatized, in a world where world events are continuing to get more and more crazy, and we're definitely, in my opinion, going through a world shift
Mm,
to hopefully more humanity. People are desperate for truth, they're desperate for connection. And it's going to be, and that's regardless if you're a business owner, if you're an artist like I am, or whatever. ChatGPT, I think Microsoft has Bard, maybe, or something. AI, I think they're helpful tools, but we should not be relying on them. We need to always go back to, am I willing to connect to myself and my truth? And use those tools to support that, but not rely on them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I was talking to another speaker actually, and actually that episode should be coming out the end of next week. Jamie McCanch. Now he's an inspirational speaker. He travels, he talks on stage. He also is he's just taken a new role with an organization that promotes diversity in speakers, actually, for speakers. It's a big kind of massive organization in the UK. It's called Champions UK or something like that. I will get it right and it will go in the show notes, everybody. So I will do my research when I mention my network.
I love your humaness. It's so great.
Well, when we were talking,
we need real.
Absolutely. And Jamie's probably one of the most real people I know. He woke up paralyzed like 9-10 years ago after a bout of, I think it was shingles or something like that, but it affected his spinal cord, it affected his legs, eventually got the use of them back, but he's got this permanent pain disorder now that he's going to live with forever and ever, effectively. And he's very reliant on, aids, different types of aids to get around. So he's either on sticks, sometimes he's in a chair, and I think now he's exploring exoskeletal leg things so that can support him standing while he's doing his speaking and that kind of thing. But he's also dyslexic. He's also got other things that are going on for him, and whether it's diagnosed or undiagnosed, pretty sure he's ADHD as well. He is very reliant on AI to help him write things. And he does stop and go, right, okay, because if he spent a long time trying to do it, he would be forever spell checking and grammar checking. And so he's found a way to stay himself, but using AI and being very open about it, saying, hey, look, I've had to do this. It is what it is. If you hear me talk, if you hear one of my speeches, it has been aided by AI. Obviously, they don't write it because they don't know his experience. He's had to put the experiences in for it to be able to pull the words together and, put them into sentences that actually make sense for him to say on stage. And he's so, like I say, so raw, so human about that. And that's what I really appreciate. So it'd be really interesting to get your thoughts on his. And when that comes out, I'll send you the link when it's.
No, I love that. I mean, that's, again, AI is not bad, but we need to temper it. Not temper it. We need to use it to support us, but not hide us.
Yeah. So it's artificial intelligence that we need to use intelligently, essentially, isn't it? I mean, we need to think about how are we using this, because there will be the nefarious that want to use it for, not so nice means. There's always going to be folk in the world that want to leverage that to fool people. Have you ever heard of Martin Lewis?
Mm-mm.
No, so he's a chap he's very UK based, but he's the money expert. So he's got basically a non-profit. He doesn't do advertisements. So if you ever hear him advertising something, it's faked, essentially. He won't advertise products, but he has a website that people go to. It's moneysavingexpert.com. People will go to that to look at what's the kind of fairest deals on insurances and credit cards, and he'll give a very honest summary of what's out there in the world without giving opinions. He'll say, this is what so-and-so is doing, this is what so-and-so is doing, this is their rates, this is their rates, this is how this works, this is how this tax system works, but it's very informational and it isn't opinion-based. And he's got some strong opinions about the UK government, which he's quite happy to share, but not through that platform. But he's been deep-faked. A video of him has been faked promoting a product to sell it. Of course, people trust him. So a lot of people will look at that and go, oh, yeah, if Martin Lewis says that's okay, then it must be true. And he's come out all guns blazing. I think he sued someone over it. And again, the money from the suing of them went to charitable causes. It went to good causes. It wasn't something he put back in his pocket. And you just think, wow, but scary that it's so convincing. It's so convincing. And it's this augmented reality.
That's the thing, especially, right. Yeah. And how do we know what's true and what's not true? And a part of that is learning to get connected with your gut.
Yeah.
The more we're connected with ourselves, the more we're connected with our gut, we can tell what's fake. I'm like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't,
Yeah, you can tell enough to go and test it, right? You can tell enough to go and explore and maybe pop something on Instagram and say, hey, Mark, I was just in this. Is this actually you? Because he'll come straight out and go, nope. And it's asking those questions and not being afraid to critically evaluate something. And it's one thing I think is always missing from, I know whether you had the same experience when you were in the school system. Children are not taught to critically evaluate things. Teachers say this is this and that's the end. Learn this because I say it's the case. And don't get me wrong, when it's history or something like that, fine, okay, these factual events happened, great, let's not spin them. But looking at other sides of things, looking at the nuances, and we're not encouraged to do that until we get much older. Universities encourage us to do it if we go. Lots of people don't go to university. So
Yeah.
where does that leave them? It leaves them trusting the information, right?
So it's interesting because I'm a former educational consultant.
Oh, okay.
And I got into teachers college. It was very competitive, and then I dropped out within a year. And I remember, I remember because I believe that people should learn how to think for themselves. And I believe that every child is brilliant in their own way and they just need to be nurtured. And I would go into these different schools and teach in ways that was more creative. I would take a math lesson and integrate singing and acting and movement. Or if we're learning about sun energy, all right, great. Let's talk of you. These kids get to be the sun. These kids get to be how this does this, and the boat moves this, and the wind moves this. And I was doing all these integrative kind of singing, dancing, acting through math, through social studies. And I was being criticized in teachers college
Yeah.
for being too creative with children and they need to be in rows. And it became very clear that it was about indoctrinating these children to become workers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you know how many kids are falling through the cracks because you're not teaching them in a way that makes sense for their learning stuff. College. And then when I was resource faculty at the Royal Conservatory of Music in Canada, where I was born, they had a special program called Learning through the Arts where they were looking for teachers, the people who are artists who knew how to teach through the arts. And I'm like, that's what I was
That's
trying to
me.
do, damn it.
Me.
Pick me. And I got that job. And so I ended up being very blessed and getting to work with teaching teachers how to use this crazy methodology that I thought was crazy until I realized that the Royal Conservatory of Music was promoting it. And to see that every child, like they actually did a 3-year study and they showed that all these kids that went through this, where they were critically thinking, they were testing stuff out, they were doing things differently, all of them improved their grades over the 3 years by 11 percentile, and especially girls in math and science.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I'm 100% with you. We need to be critically thinking. And when you talked about history, it's factual, and it's factual from the people who wrote it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's written by I'm going to say it,
Victors.
by the white man. You know, we have more now women.
History was written by the victors. Yeah, for sure.
You know, so
Yeah.
we always have to be critically thinking of where is this coming from?
Yeah.
You know, who wrote this? Where is this coming from? How? So it goes back to AI is great. If we're going to bring this back to the topic of
Oh,
the
yeah,
day,
yeah,
AI is great and damn well critical think.
yeah.
Use your brain, use your feelings, use your senses, use your experience, use every part of you. Because if you can get the mix of it, it'll be like magical.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I'm glad we went on the small tangent into like how children learn that kind of because they learn through play, right? And as adults, it gets knocked out of us, that gets bashed out of us to stop playing. Now, I'm a massive fan of Lego. I'm a massive fan of building stuff, fiddling with my hands, using stuff. And well, if you can see my desk, there's Pooh's treehouse right here on the corner of my desk, and I've got a tiny 4x4 that lives on my desk and a little Lego figure that looks like me. She's came
I
with a
love
4x4.
it.
And I like that because I live in the country and I have a 4x4. So, it all feels really kind of natural. But if we are playing with AI, with that critical eye, being able to evaluate how it's useful to us. Funnily enough, when we started doing the networking, we talked about how we met our mutual friend, Phil. Hey, Phil. When
We love you.
When we were talking about how we met him, actually at one point I was hosting the session because the normal host couldn't make it. And I decided he had a lovely way of introducing everybody. He wrote a little intro, says this person does this, this, and this, a little bit kind of ambiguous, but then to kind of introduce them. I decided to introduce myself using an AI written bio about me. It was awful. But somebody a little bit more playful, and because I was in a hurry, didn't have time to kind of play with it, when I've asked it to do it in the style of a Shakespearean sonnet. So she did hers. AI turned it into a sonnet. It just changed the prose, so it was in the right kind. You could get it to turn it into a haiku or a limerick. Or don't get me wrong, it's not funny. It can't add humor. We've asked it to do jokes. Really bad. AI cannot tell a joke yet. It hasn't got there.
Another reason why you need us comedians.
I know, right? I'm really happy about that because we do need human comedians because we think in those abstract ways which AI just can't do because it's not logical. And I like that. That's fine. But we got playful with it. And then these intros were, well, eventually I decided to play with the intros. I actually stripped out their taglines from LinkedIn. You know how many people didn't know their own taglines? They didn't know it was them I was introducing when I used that LinkedIn tagline. They were just like, was that me? Oh, I really better get in there and change that. I'm like, yeah. And actually, AI has a role to play in helping you summarize things more succinctly when you need to. Maybe, like you say, giving you pointers
Exactly.
to extrapolate on, to pause with, to sit with, to grow. But like you say, at the same time, let's critically evaluate that. How true is that? How likely is that to be true? How might I test this? What other resources have I got to check whether that's correct or not? Which is yeah. So coming back to the arts, I suppose, and we've talked about sort of lyricism, songwriting, that kind of thing. I mean, do you ever see it managing to write plays? Or I mean, I'm still in that headspace of I'm not sure that it would manage to do that in any kind of realistic way. It would seem, I think, I don't know, somewhat wooden if given that it can't write jokes or humor.
Oh God, I hope not.
No.
God, I mean, what the best plays in the world, people, people were inspired. They had something to say.
Mm,
AI has nothing to say unless it's prompted.
yeah.
I don't care how many times you can say, AI, write me a play on World War II. There's no storyline. How are they gonna, I guess you could say about Jack and Jill who fell in love and got separated because of the war, and how she became a nurse and he went off to fight, and then, like, I mean, I guess but you still have to give it some kind of storyline. But again, there's no way that it can understand the deep psychology and the motivations. Like, it's just,
No.
it's,
No.
yeah.
No, and
You
I hope not. I genuinely do. And I'm actually hoping those that are coding AI to do all different things that are useful. The thing where it's looking at pixels in images to pick up the most minutest trace of not instant, so being able to imaging. Actually, one thing that Jamie was talking about, the imaging for things like breast cancer.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it wasn't Jamie. It was Chris Williams, the first guest. He was talking about how AI is picking up, because it can pick up the tiniest pixel where the human eye can't see it. Amazing evolutions of a technology. I say that's where our energy should go. Our energy should go in getting AI to be able to do those kinds of things, and stay the hell away from being creative. Because let's face it, that's what we are really strong at, and that's what something we are, you know, infinitely variable at, which is what makes it so rich and so interesting and so broad.
Rachel, that makes me think that maybe AI is a blessing to people who have not tapped into their creativity. Is going to force them to, or give them the freedom to find their more playful, creative self. Because as you said, we're not encouraged to play
No.
beyond a certain age. And it's like play is where the energy flows. Play is where goodness happens without so much struggle. Like, I see people, when my clients don't think I'm nuts, but I think some people probably think my methodologies with my clients are nuts. But I literally get my clients up to dance. We just play, we sing badly together, even though clearly I can sing, and I just get them to play
Yeah.
and go into like, what else is possible? Oh, I wonder, and make up like crazy ass stories. And what ends up happening is that they end up finding something that they wouldn't have thought of before because we unlock their brain.
Yeah.
You know, it takes courage to work with me. Well, because we're so used to people go, oh, you're a business coach, and an actor and a dancer, and I work with clients on how to be, speak from their power and be influential in their business. So yes, technically some people will say that's a coach, but the way that I do it is so radically outside the box, because it's
Yeah.
about tapping into their truth and getting it from a place of truthfulness and play and their creativity and what wants to be expressed.
Yeah.
And then of course I can process it. I mean, I'm a former educational consultant. So of course I put stuff into process so they can get real world results, but we've always got to start with what's the core essence? Because in today's day and age, more than ever, if you do not have that alignment in that core essence, unless you're a really good manipulator, which none of my ideal clients are, but there's two types of people: the ones who are really good at like push energy, hustle, push, manipulative, play on the weak people. Oh my God, that's not the languaging I wanted to use. Play on people who are vulnerable. No human being is weak. We all have strength like bulldogs. But play on people who are vulnerable. The business leaders just are trying to find their own voice. And they don't know how to connect in that way because business is so. And then I come in and I disrupt it all, which is fantastic.
I like like that disruptive thinking, radical candor, radical candor. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, ultimately, you know, those differentiating techniques is, I mean, a lot of the work I do as a coach. Yes, I'm not a business coach. I don't go into businesses per se, but I work with leaders who are trying to, again, find themselves and bring themselves to a world that expects particular things or has a set way of being, or actually they just perceive that it has those expectations, when actually when they do find a way to become themselves, think, oh, this still works. My teams are engaging because I'm showing vulnerability, I'm sharing my humility, I'm laughing at myself now, I'm not expecting to know everything, do everything, be everything. Because when I got promoted, that's what I thought I had to do. I had to be Eleanor Rigby, taking that face by the door, slapping it on and stepping outside. It's like, no, your face is fine. What you're bringing is fine. It's a case of learning to use the really powerful bits better, and bringing them to the fore. It sounds very much, you know, we are singing from the same hymn sheet, I think, on that front. For let's get leaders to be more real, to be more the best people I've ever worked for, the most inspiring people I've ever worked for, was totally open about their flaws. Not all of them, obviously, you'll never see all the flaws, but the ones that are there in the workplace.
When I'm working with my clients on speaking from your power, one of the things that we talk about a lot is that when people talk about being vulnerable, about being open, you also need to share when you're ready to share.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's going to come across as victim. You're not going to be seen in your power. You're not. So it shows up in your body language and your speaking voice. It shows up in your presence. It shows up in your energy. So it's really, for a lot of people, finding that fine balance of, it's about being anchored in your truth, but also in alignment with what you want to share and ready to share what you want to share. Otherwise, it just doesn't come across from a place of power.
Yeah. So
it's a fine balance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So when we think about the tools that are available, and considering, if you were to consider AI as, well, you probably do consider AI as one of those tools to support, as opposed to being, rather than being something that does for them, supports the work that they do. So not replacing, but supporting. Where would you say that has its most strength with the folk that you work with? Where does AI have the best place with those people?
When it comes from the presentation standpoint, none. And here's I'm going to explain this. So the majority of speaking training, because people go, oh, you're a speaking trainer. I'm like, I'm not. Because the majority of speaking training is about being polished.
Yeah.
The majority of it is about stand here, pose here, do a speech effect, memorize a script. The problem with that, so just go down this rabbit hole with me for a moment.
Okay.
The problem with that is that the stress and any unresolved trauma that we are carrying directly influence your voice and your body language. So when I did my degree in music, I did it in Canada, because there might be Americans watching. It is pre-med. So I was dissecting bodies, doing anatomy, physiology, biomechanics, all those different pieces, health, nutrition. And the interesting thing is that when I did my specialization in relaxation therapy, I didn't at the time realize that it was going to be, I did this for my own health.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that it would be the biggest factor in my work on this side of my career in terms of Speak From Your Power, Brave Leaders Rising. And over my career, I'd be working with clients on their voice or body language. And obviously with my background in performing, I know probably some of the most advanced stuff you could possibly imagine when it comes to everything speaking and presentation. I could teach all those pieces, but they're not going to be super effective if you've got that stress and unresolved trauma. So I'm going to explain this. So over years, I started to notice distinctly where people were stuck and how they were showing up and how it was directly related. So for example, I had a client that came to me. She was a CEO of a company. She's like, I just can't work with other speaking trainers. It just all feels so fake with me. Something's not working. And she's like, and I don't understand how I can be one-on-one with people and I'm fine. And then I have a meeting and I prepare and I should be fine, but then I blank out and I look like a bumbling idiot, especially around men. And I said, oh, I can tell you right now. And she goes, what? I said, well, you're breathing high in your chest.
Mm.
And so I'm going to kind of just do a little demonstration and I'm going to bring it back to the story. So right now I'm breathing in the top half of my lungs. I'm breathing higher in my chest. I'm not breathing down here. So automatically it makes my voice more nasal. It's making me come across this way. It makes my body language, even though I'm not really moving, you can tell that I feel a little bit scattered. How are you feeling, Rachel, with how I
Yeah,
just presented?
that made me feel tense because you were looking tense at that point in time.
Right. The majority of people, especially women, and then we could get into the whole piece of why if you'd like to, don't breathe correctly. The majority
Oh,
of
for
people don't.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
so it's directly, so I gave you one example, but you could also be breathing high in your chest. And like my client, she had held breath. Not only was it pushing her voice in the wrong place, and it was making her come across as what people call a whiny female bitch, which freaking drives me crazy because it's not true. But she was not able to get a full cycle of breath. So the held breath was pushing up the larynx, which was closing up her ability to on top of that, it was causing a constant stress response. If you're not breathing down into your pelvic floor, down to the bottom of your lungs, like you can hear my voice is grounded, it's present, my body language is present.
Back.
But if you're not breathing down there, then your body language comes across as scattered, even if it's not physically showing it. But also, you're in a stress response. So there are people in a constant stress response. So suddenly she goes into a meeting and that stress response gets amplified and she blanks out. So I can give you all the best memorization tactics in the world. I'm a professional actor. They're not going to work if you're not dealing with the stress.
Sure.
So there's my spiel about this. That when people go, I don't know why she's doing stress management with me. I'm like, this is why. We're doing breathing, getting in your body. So that's my big spiel about this. AI cannot detect. I can hear in someone's voice what kinds of trauma. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I can hear in someone's voice and I can see it in their body language what kind of trauma they've been through that's still unresolved because I've been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
They can't feel it. They can't see it. They can't tell if you're breathing at the bottom of your lungs or not. They can't tell if you're massaging your celiac nerves, which is your second brain, with your breath and able to raise your oxytocin. They can't do my work. Good luck, AI. You know, and my greatest wish is to teach other people how to do this because there's so many other people doing great work with embodiment, which is what I'm doing, but they don't have the skills to translate into how you're actually presenting yourself and dealing with a trauma piece that's actually holding you back from being a powerful presenter and be able to create what I call invitation energy
Yeah.
versus push energy.
Yeah.
So AI can't do that. Good luck.
So, in terms of what it can do, what can it do to help those folk with maybe more the kind of more logistical, administrative side of wanting to speak, wanting to pull things together to deliver to other people,
Yeah.
regardless of the
I
delivery? Okay, AI, back off. That's not really any of AI's business.
right.
That's it.
Messaging
But about the
yeah,
message, about the facts, the research. I mean, I use it for research. If I have a
exactly
speaking
right.
moment, I don't want to be pouring through books for hours and hours and hours because I need to do that to get the
Exactly.
right. Now, I still have to check the referencing. I still don't trust it 100% to get referencing right, but
Smart.
it does save me a butt ton of time in getting the research together, summarizing and crediting where credit is due, because I don't want to say something that isn't mine without crediting who it comes from. That's one of my massive values, because I don't want to be misquoted. I don't want my stuff used without me being credited. And I wouldn't want to, even if it's somebody long dead, I still want to say, yeah, that was Aristotle, that was Plato, that's not me. And
I love that.
it's interesting, isn't it, to say, okay, what for the folk that you've been working with, that you will continue to work with, where might you start suggesting, have you thought about using something like AI to help with that element of the things that you're worried about, which might be the logistics, might be the research?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely a speech, you're writing a speech. I could say, here's the structure, here's the different topics. If you need to chat GPT it, do it. Sections and feel into what feels truthful, what doesn't, what is your point of view a little bit differently, and play from there and test out the, write this in a playful tone, write this in a serious tone, write this in the, so, and to your point, I still remember, you're probably a lot younger than I am, but back in my day, we did the whole like go to the library and go and pull out
Not
the
that
drawers.
young.
Okay.
I'm 2 years off 50. I'm not that young.
Oh my God. I'm like just a year off 50, a year and like
There
a
you
week
go then.
ago.
Yeah. So we've got a
I
year
know, it's
between us,
awesome.
Cindy. So
Okay, so yeah, so you
we're both
remember
Gen
even
X.
in
We're both Gen X.
England, Canada, the same thing, right?
Absolutely.
You would pull,
Yeah.
you'd have to go to that stuffy library and the smells,
Huh.
and you have to pull out the drawer and go through them, and then you have to pull up the card and go, oh, E34332.
Oh, I'm going to find
you have
it.
to remember that. Then you have to go to like, Jesus, remember? People today have no idea. The young
We
kids are
are
like, it was so
older
easy,
than the
so
internet.
easy for you.
We are older than the internet. So we froze a bit there, but yes, my nephew is always mind blown when I tell him I'm older than the internet. He's like, "What?" And I navigate by map. I can navigate by map. He said, "What, like a pirate?" I'm like, "Yeah, like a pirate."
I don't remember the Pearlies. Did they have the Pearlies maps in the UK? Maybe they
No, we've
weren't
got
called the
Ordnance
Pearlies. But
Survey.
we open the book of the maps.
Oh yeah,
And
we've
yeah,
got AA roadmaps. In fact, actually, we're traveling through France. We're seeing Phil on the way around, actually, and I have plotted the entire route via an AA roadmap in a book
oh
with
yeah, so we have
tabs. And
CAA
I
Canada. Yeah,
love to follow a map. I don't. I mean, I will use Google Maps. I'll use SatNav. I have no problem with that.
yeah.
But I love an actual paper physical. I can see exactly where we are and also what's around us. So if we want to go off the road and see, look, there's a castle over there. SatNav won't show you that unless you tell it, look for castles, but it won't look for castles and say, hey, there's one 2 miles off the road, unless you specifically say, right now at this point, find a castle near me. It just,
Amazing.
it's not, so I want the map so I get the bigger picture. The big picture, not the just where I am and where I need to go next, which is, when I want SatNav to just get me A to B, fine, brilliant, that fills a need. But yeah, it's, and if you think about it,
ways, we also did things like play outside in the streets. Now it's not safe to do that.
Climbing trees.
Because I still remember as a kid, you'd hear a parent calling, "Where's my daughter? Where's my son? Oh, they're in this backyard." I mean, now it's like you can't just play on the road. It's so dangerous, anyways.
We'd come home when the road lights came on. When the lights came on of an evening, that's when you had to be indoors. That was it. So it's like, depending on the time of year, you got to stay out later or not. Yeah. So in for dinner, back out again. Anyway, but we're massively digressing.
Yes. Back to AI. So
back to AI.
I'm totally good with using AI with my clients, like encouraging them to use it if they need to write a video script. Or, for example, we're done writing a 45-minute speech. Great. Get ChatGPT to break it up into a bunch of 1-minute videos so you could use.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of stuff is awesome. And then again, but my clients know you got to still sit with it. You still got to feel it and be it.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to what you've said as a way to cut down on time, help you to get some ideas. So it's again, just finding that balance of using both.
Yeah, it's make things more efficient, isn't it? But again, not take the humanity out of it. If we can stop, sit with it, read it. I got it to write I got it to write one article, and then I wrote an article separately, both on the topic of humor and leadership. So one thing that I'm on a bit of a mission at the moment, because that's not taught. No leadership programs teach the appropriate use of humor in leadership, and yet it's so powerful. It's such a powerful tool for leaders to use, to show that they're human, to show their vulnerability, laugh at themselves, all of that stuff. But it wrote a plausible, okay version with a couple of bits in there. I'm like, I'm not sure I would encourage a leader to take that literally, because it sounds too like they would be making dad jokes and forcing things in that would be clunky and uncomfortable, versus mine, which was, if you're going to laugh at anyone, laugh at yourself first. And it was very, the audience, when I said, hey, and the reason I did it was to put both out together and say, hey guys, which one do you think is me? And everyone got it right. Of course they did, because they're like, yeah, Rach, that's definitely your voice, and use the word arse. And then, obviously ChatGPT doesn't, because they're not from Somerset. So it's all of that kind of stuff that people notice. But actually, it was fairly credible. I could have tidied it up, put some more humanized writing in it, and actually within half an hour or an hour, I would have done a credible blog on humor and leadership. having then done the work a little bit to tailor. The one I wrote, because I was looking for references and all that kind of stuff, probably took me about 3 hours in total. So like I say, that time saving, amazing, but let's keep the humanity in it by making it, and not just the humanity generically, our humanity, our character, our stuff, so that folk get to know who we are, not a generic, like your intro. Yeah, amazing, Cindy, amazing, wonderful, great. It would not have captured you. It would have captured a generic, somebody who's been in the entertainment industry for more than 20 years. That's what it would have captured. It wouldn't have captured you as the teacher, you as the singer, you as, you know, this person who was seen as being quirky, crazy, mad to be bringing new things into schools way before anyone went, oh, actually, that's quite a good idea. And that is actually how children learn. So yeah, maybe we should be doing more of that. You know, so it hasn't caught any of that. It hasn't got the essence of you in any way, shape, or form. It's a good intro. It's a very professional intro. It's not you. Yeah. It's about you, but it's not you. And that's what I think.
My intro, if you weren't reading from ChatGPT, I would have given you an intro that was like, by age 3, she was already dancing on the table with sequins and like,
exactly. Yeah.
The crazy shit. And since then, she's gone on to do this. And
cannot walk by a feather boa. They cannot leave it alone.
I can't 100%. Believe I'm on tour and I don't even have a boa with me, but I've got lots of sparkly stuff. I have like half the closet is like sparkly stuff.
This is it. I mean, I said one of my comments in one of my bios, it might still be there, that I cannot. There was a little bit that's about me personally. Yeah, there's the dogs. Da da da. I cannot leave a garden centre empty-handed. You know, I have a problem with houseplants. I mean, I've got a big one behind me, but you should see. Beautiful. And I sneak them into the house without my husband seeing, and he doesn't notice until he goes, like, "Have you been propagating things? We seem to be getting overwhelmed by houseplants." But that's the human side of things that AI wouldn't know. It wouldn't know. It couldn't know. It's not following me around. Oh, I hope it never knows.
I sometimes wonder about that, because sometimes I'm like, I say something on a phone call and suddenly it's popping up everywhere, and I'm like, somebody's listening.
Google. Oh, you've only got to Google one thing, and suddenly your Facebook feed is full of adverts for that one thing. I'm like, really? That seems a little bit. I mean, it's marketing, isn't it? But at the same time, yeah. Anyway, we're getting a bit paranoid now, so we're going into conspiracy theories. I don't have a tinfoil hat. I don't have a tinfoil hat. We haven't been deep faked. We have had some glitches going through. What's interesting, and I'll well, actually, whether we leave this in or take it out, I don't think it matters. We don't use AI for editing. We've got a lovely lady called Amy who's going to sit there and check things and make sure they kind of cut in okay. I definitely thought the essence of what we needed to catch today. It's been really, I think, to summarize it all is I'm getting the feeling that, you know, and it's becoming more and more apparent with everyone I talk to about this, is AI could be bad if the wrong people do the wrong things with it, but AI can be useful, incredibly useful, if the right people do the right things with it for the right reasons. And that's its power, I think, in some ways. But we as humans have a responsibility, right, to make sure we are taking accountability, because even if we use AI to write something for us, we can't blame AI for what we decide to deliver, what we decide to put into the world. We can't say, oh, well, AI wrote that, so it wasn't me. No, you told it to write it. So we still have to be accountable, don't we? We still have to have that level. But I think the accountability, I love that you're saying about sitting with it and getting to know it and really getting behind it. That goes beyond just taking accountability for it, doesn't it? That goes beyond that. Yeah, this really is me.
It's you owning your own
me aided by something as maybe commonplace as using spell check in the future. And that might be so normal going down the line, be as normal as Googling something on the internet. So let's face it, you and I, you know, we were around for the advent of the internet when everyone was going, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Libraries are going to die. Libraries are still going. I still love a library. We have a lovely little town library here. I still go in there.
Libraries are still going.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Cindy, just give us, I do, obviously, all my guests, I asked them to do a little bit of a plug, and we've been talking about the way you work and a little bit around the sort of people you work with. Just tell me a little bit more around Brave Leaders Rising and speaking to your power or from your power. And if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how would they best do that?
Awesome. So Brave Leaders Rising is a new brand that I'm building. It's a new movement that I'm building. And it's throughout my entire life, I have always done work around standing up for different causes. And with the escalation of one world issue after the other, and it's like, you know what? It's the everyday person doesn't want this, you know. And I did a whole video about what's happening in Gaza, and I'm like, the everyday Jew and the everyday Arab is just a normal person just trying to walk around, trying to raise their family. They don't believe in any of this. And so for me, I have already for years been working with leaders and getting them, helping them to speak from their power and getting them visibility without having to manipulate and visibility without having to pay for it. Because most New York Times bestsellers, by the way, have paid for that visibility, FYI. There's a lot of fake, yeah, you could pay $80,000 to be a Wall Street Journal bestseller.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay.
So, you know, there's so much fake in the world, and you know, people are like, how did you get on red carpets? How did you get all this fame? And I'm like, I didn't pay for it, that's for sure. Didn't pay for it. So for years now, I have been working with clients on how to ethically get to the top as a leader and be seen as a leader and get their voice heard in a way that's truthful to them. So Brave Leaders Rising is an extension of that, because now to work with one, keep working with one-on-one people is not enough. I need to be able to reach, I mean, I do reach millions with my different platforms, but I need to train millions on speaking from your power and how to get real influence. So this is my big baby, and it allows me to be the TV host. I was just at the Oscars luxury gala back in March, and I was interviewing celebrities on the red carpet about what's brave leadership look like. I also on that trip interviewed what we would call everyday people, although I believe that we're all stars. You know, and really, so part of this is me as a TV host traveling around Europe, traveling around North America, talking to different people, facilitating conversations, but part of it is expanding the number of people that I train in speaking from your power and getting to the top. And part of it is me performing works that will heal and that will help people in ways that's really raising the vibration of the planet. So it's actually the combination of my entire platform all together in one, where I get to be the performer, the TV host, and the trainer, and bring communities together. So I'm very excited that we're kicking this off now. If people are interested in anything, they can either go to braveleadersrising.com, or for the performing, they can go to cindyashton.com. Razzle dazzle them.
Absolutely. Okay. Love it. Thank you so much. You heard it there. I will pop something in the show notes. So braveleadersrising.com or cindyashton.com. And I have found you on YouTube as well, some lovely little moments of you singing and performing. And because I do like to stalk my guests before I see them. So, but really lovely. And that's actually what made me go, whoa, this lady's done a lot before we met. And a little bit of like, oh, who am I to be speaking to Cindy about this stuff? But again, I recognize that AI-wise, there's a level, and neither of us know that much about it. So we can talk, we can postulate, we can play with the concepts of AI and what it can do for your clients, and also for, I know, say we touched very much on what it might do for the world of the creative entertainment industry, for you know, helping, whether it can help, whether it can't help, but what they can do with it in terms of making it ethical. And let's encourage these brave leaders rising to think about how they can best use AI to be ethically correct and ethically grounded, but at the same time enable them to be efficient and productive and healthy and able to shortcut where shortcuts are actually the right thing to do and a good thing to do, rather than you know, having to do things long form, like having a calculator versus doing multiple you know, equations long form. Let's face it, what is wrong with that? So it's let's look at it being as an ethical shortcut rather than a naughty and nefarious manipulative one, which I hope nobody goes away from this thinking, oh, I'm going to go away and do that now. So thank you so much, Cindy. This has been an absolute hoot. I'm sure we could talk about not this, but all sorts for ages. And don't even get me on the topic of musical theatre, because that would just send us in a completely different direction again. Definitely. So thank you. If you enjoyed listening to this, then please do subscribe from whatever platform you happen to be listening on. Do get in touch with Cindy via those two links. Look at the show notes too, if you just want a really easy clickable link. And if you want to get in touch with me, as you know, I'll be on LinkedIn. You'll find me there, and my links will be in the notes below as well. Thank you, and goodbye for now.